am going to pass us over to Stephen. Stephen is one of our awesome members here who I've gotten to know a little bit through some of our mornings and Zooms. And when he reached out and started talking about all of his amazing experiences, I could not wait to have him come in and teach with all of you. And chakras are a big, big subject. And so he is going to give us a deep dive and an education on just the root chakra tonight. So Stephen, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I know a lot of the screens are off, but from a show of hands from the screens that are up, how many people know about chakras? Raise your hand if you do. Okay. So either, how many people have no experience and no knowledge of chakras at all? No? Okay. How many have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge about chakras? Okay, so, okay. Well, I'm going to do a brief overview, just real quick. The whole orientation for me is to do something experiential and then talk about it instead of just talking about it in a very theoretical way, especially because this is a really core experience and I don't want it to be a head experience. So I look at the body from an energetic perspective, and this is common in the East. I was trained by a yogi from the Himalayan mountains, and I was with him for 19 years. So I'm trained in a very classical, traditional yoga approach. So this is, there's other approaches, but I'm going to give you the approach I was trained in and know. So the human body is really divided into 7 chakras, 7 energy centers, with the heart being the dividing place. So the root chakra is about, what would you say? Someone tell me, what is the root chakra about? The primary emotion. Safety, yeah, safety, security, yeah, good. I forgot to look in the chat. Okay, stability, yes. So the root chakra is really about self-preservation. That's the #1 job of the energy center of the root chakra. So unfortunately, you know, when the root chakra is activated or triggered, it's usually because you're in a life-threatening situation, you're afraid for your own personal security, you feel unsafe. So those are really powerful emotions. For that reason, when if we were to ever do a session where we do chakra opening, we would not start with the root chakra, because those kind of emotions, when they come pouring out, are just really difficult to deal with. I mean, you'd be on the floor in a fetal position. That wouldn't be a fun start. So the second chakra is about sensuality, and that includes sexuality and reproduction. The next chakra up is usually located in the navel center, although it's sometimes shown a little bit lower than that. And that has to do with fire or energy. That's where you process your food, you digest your food. There's a lot of, it's the core sort of energy center of your body. In Japan, they call it hara. The heart center is that mid place between, you know, base animal sort of drives to a more human drive, the sense of love, compassion for oneself, love for other people. And then the throat chakra is, I find it very interesting. When I was a mental health counselor, that's an area where that a lot of people are blocked in a very subtle way. And it has to do with vulnerability. It's one of the most vulnerable areas of the body. It also has to do with speaking the truth, inhalation, exhalation, taking in food, taking in nourishment. It's a really key center that most people don't spend a lot of time on. It's also one of the key psychic centers of the body. The next level up is between the eyebrows, and that's a major psychic center. That has to do with seeing, and we all do it sort of in an automatic way without even realizing it. We all often have little pictures in our mind. If we're thinking, oh, what am I going to get for Christmas? We might see that person and see some possible presents, or we might, or some bad feelings might come up, or some good feelings might come up. But But that little picture in our mind is that whole area where we can visualize things. And it also is an area where we can receive knowledge, we can receive wisdom. And then the top one is the crown chakra, and that's where we're open to a much greater energy than ourselves. And so that's the system in general. Today, I want to focus on the root chakra. And I'm going to, instead of opening the chakra, because that would be way more than we can handle, I think I want to focus on grounding, and a grounding kind of meditation, a very solid meditation. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through some brief sort of movements while you're seated. And then just to unblock your body from the tension. Then we'll do a guided relaxation. And then you can turn your screen back on. If you want to turn your screen off during this time, that would be fine. And then we'll turn the screens back on, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we experienced. I'm willing to go over on time. I had no idea how long it would take, and had no idea there'd be so many people. So I'm willing, if we have questions, I'm willing to go on for a while beyond the hour. Okay, so just position your body in your seat, on your chair, in a way that you can sit comfortable without any impingement, without anything binding you. If you can mute your cell phone or turn it off so it's not buzzing or clicking or distracting you, that would be good. And take a moment just to be in the room that you're in. Notice the sounds in the room, including the sound of my voice. Notice any smells or odors in the room. Feel the temperature of the air on your face and hands. Notice the temperature in the room. Now, during this time, I'd like to ask you to form the intention of letting go of all the memories of the past. Whether it was earlier today, or earlier in the week, or some other time, whatever memories want to come up, I'd like to ask you to unplug from those memories, to just shut that down, shut that part of yourself down, and be okay with shutting that part down. And that includes whatever stories you might tell yourself, or whatever conditioning that you have. See if you can mute these past influences on your present body and mind. Now turn your attention to this part of yourself in the future that thinks about the future, that worries about the future, has anxieties, planning, calculating, everything involved with some future time. And I'd like you to unplug from that. Even though there might not be an off switch, just unplug it. You can visualize that, just pulling the plug on it and not allowing the mind to run into some kind of worry or anxiety about the future, or even planning or thinking, just to let it go. So without any focus on the past or any focus on the future, I'd like you to come into this present moment. And the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is very hard. I want you to unplug from thinking. Now, of course, the mind is immediately going to say, well, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. And unplug it anyhow. Just unplug it and feel, instead of the ego banging on the cage wanting to have voice, feel the silence in the body. Feel into your own body. Just drop the head and all the emotions of future or past. And feel your way into the body. Now feel all the way down to the soles of your feet, and let that feeling go down into the pull of gravity. You don't have to imagine the pull of gravity. It's tugging on you right now. It's tugging on your internal organs. It's planting your body firmly in the seat. You don't have to imagine the earth pulling on you. It is pulling on you. Just feel it. And be okay with it. And let your energy field expand down into the earth, down below the floor, below any apartments or basements that are beneath that floor, down into the earth itself, into the topsoil and the clay and the bedrock and the water table and the bedrock under the water table. And just feel that connection with the earth. Feel it in your body. And feel that stability and solidness. You don't have to imagine the earth. It's there. Also be aware of the earth in your own body. Your body is earth. It's clay and dirt and minerals. It's water, liquid, bone, calcium. The whole structure of your body is earth. Earth and water, space. Just feel the body, the solidness of the body, the quiet of the body. Now bring your attention to your face and bring the focus of your attention to your face. If you find yourself drifting off and losing focus, just bring yourself back. Sort of like one of those dog leashes. You know, if it gets too far away, just pull it back and bring back your mind, your attention into this present moment, into what you're doing, into your body. Now, I'd like you to tense up your forehead and then let it go. Tense up your forehead and let it go. Move your jaw back and forth. Let go of any tension that might be locked in your jaw. And move around your head from your neck and see if you can work out any tension that might be locked up in your neck. And now move your shoulders around, back and forth, up and down. See if you can feel the tension that might be locked in your shoulders. It's a common place for us to have a lot of tension. See if you can move it around so that the tension sort of lets up a little bit. Just like you're getting ready for a little jog and you're kind of stretching your body. Now flex your arms and your hands and your fingers and try to work out any tension that might be locked in your hands and arms. Now, just allow your arms and hands to be limp. Allow your shoulders to just rest on the frame of your body. Now relax your chest. And take a moment to notice your lungs as they breathe. Notice how the rib cage expands and contracts. It's not something that we hardly ever pay attention to. Just notice it for a minute. Isn't it a curious apparatus? How it moves and stretches. Well designed. Now feel the stomach and the abdominal area. And see if you can let go of any residual fear or anxiety or upsetness. For now, just giving yourself a break from all of that and just letting go of everything. Relax your thighs and your calves, your ankles, feet, and toes. Now turn your attention to your breath. And I'd like you to do one small thing make your breath smooth so that you eliminate any pauses or hesitations in your breath. Try to focus on it. Try not to drift away. Whatever problems you had today, it's okay. You can not have to think about them for a few minutes. Just stay present. Stay with my voice. Another way to anchor yourself is to stay with my voice. Just drift wherever my voice takes you. And right now, just focus on making your breath smooth. When you come to the end of a breath, round off the breath so that the inhalation blends into the exhalation, blends into the inhalation. Make it a little sort of game with yourself. Can I do this really perfectly? Such a simple thing. Just make the breath smooth. No stress. Approach it with curiosity. What happens to your emotions? What happens to your thinking when your breath becomes smooth? And don't go into your head or the world of words or concepts or ideas. This is just a noticing. Just notice what happens to your energy field when you make the breath smooth. That's it. Not complicated. What happens to your energy field as you make the breath smooth? Just notice it. No analysis, just noticing. Now, when you come to the end of a breath, a further refinement is to make that transition between the breaths flow in a very smooth way. So there's no jerkiness to your breath. So it doesn't come to a complete stop, but seems to taper off into the next breath. I know this sounds simple, but just try to do this. Make your breath smooth, round off the breath at each end. Stay in your body. Notice how the mind just immediately wants to barge in and bring up something. But I want you to try an experiment. Unplug it. Just unplug it. Don't let it barge in. See what happens. Keeping the breath smooth. Keeping fully engaged and in your body. Bringing your energy out of thinking, out of words, and into the feeling of the body. Now shift your focus. Let's do another little sort of game. Shift your focus to the bottom of your right foot. And notice whatever sensations are there, the temperature of the air, any clothing it's in contact with, whatever the skin is touching on the bottom of the right foot. Okay, now shift your attention to the left ear. Notice whatever sensations are there. At first, it might seem like there's none, but that's never true. There's always something there. The feel of the temperature of the air, a slight breeze that blows by. If nothing else, you have my voice that's sort of tickling your eardrum, making it vibrate in a particular way. Hear the quality of sound instead of processing as words. And I'll just make a sound so you don't get caught up in the words. Ah, ah, ah. Now move your attention to the inside of the nostrils. See if there's any odor, however slight, in the air. One nostril is probably more open than the other. See if you can notice the subtle difference between one nostril and the other as far as airflow. Now come back and notice what the mind is thinking. What is the mind doing during all this time? So we don't want to have a full plug-in and have it go back into full steam ahead, but just notice sort of the simmering, how the mind sort of wants to get involved, would like to intrude in, but you're sort of restraining it from coming in. Just notice how sort of like it has a silent sort of grumble in the background, or that feel of being excluded. Now feel down into your stomach. What's going on in your stomach? What are the sensations? Can you feel your stomach digesting? Does it move when you breathe? What is the temperature of the skin on the stomach? Is there any binding of your clothes? By shifting the attention from thing to thing, you can keep the mind from going back into the head, back into the normal stories and the inner dialogue and the normal things you would think about. So it's just a way of sort of tricking the mind into paying attention by creating a little bit of variety. But if you ever want to go deep into the stillness of your body, you can do so by just making the breath very smooth and feeling the body. You don't have to imagine you have a body, just feel it. And sometimes the mind can play tricks, making you think you're feeling the body when you're really thinking about feeling the body, which is different. In the course of a day, in the course of almost every day, the body communicates in very subtle ways. You might get a knot in the stomach when you think someone's going to tell you bad news. Or you might feel butterflies in your stomach if you're getting ready to speak at a large group. Or you might feel some trembling or some shivering if you're shocked or surprised by something in a good way. So during this next week or whatever time period you want, pay attention to the body, what the body is doing, how it's feeling, how it's interacting with you. Instead of just shutting it off, allow the body to have voice. Make it an equal partner. So now come back to your full body and into the room that you're in, and feel your whole body from your head to your toes. You don't have to breathe in any special way, nor do you have to restrain yourself from thinking. And gradually, when you're ready, you can gradually open your eyes. And when you feel ready, we can have a chat. If you want to ask a question or start a dialogue, either raise your hand or put a question in the chat box.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions right now.
Okay.
Well, the
Everybody's kind of mellow.
together. Yeah, I mean, we just got super relaxed.
Yeah,
Brains aren't working yet. You told us to turn them off. Um, Elizabeth said that was amazing.
good. Thank you. I wanted quicker than I thought. I thought it would be longer, but so let's talk more about. I guess I'm curious to know what brought you to this topic. What is attractive about this topic, and what you'd like to come away with? Because there's no rules about staying on topic, but it would be nice if we could limit it to chakras. So what brought you here? Okay, I used to be a college professor, so I can call on people and draft you into it. So Nancy, you started smiling, so you're caught, you're it. Nancy Waring.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe you can see me.
I
Uh,
can.
I've been fascinated by all the chakras, but particularly the root is the lower chakra. And I really feel that I've got a lot of stuff going on down there. And physically, I've had problems with hips and then with my feet. And the more I learn, the more I just think that I might be holding down a lot of energy down there. And
Okay.
that's why this attracted me. And it's
Yeah.
first I've ever been on this particular site or this link. And I just
Yeah.
loved that meditation. It was, whoa, it was great.
Yeah. Well, I will. Ari will give you leave an email. I have these guided meditations on YouTube, and you can if you send me a email, I can send you a link to it, and they're all free, and I update them, and I will put this specific meditation in there, but it might be a longer version. Now, as far as like feelings of suppressed energy or suppressed emotions, this is why it's a little tricky. I think it's easier to work with someone one-on-one, because otherwise you're in this sort of group confession thing, and that probably is not a great idea.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking about that, but that was
Yeah.
just why I was very interested in just instead of just the usual meditations or the things that I've read and all of that other kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to do a grounding meditation, and I guess I should mention about the positive aspect of the root chakra. The root chakra is sort of like the basement to a house. It's the foundation. It's really what, if you're going to have a spiritual practice at all, it really has to be based on being embodied. Now, this is, a yoga approach, and other people feel differently, but that's the yoga approach, is that you start by being embodied. And I think sometimes we, in some circles, the higher chakras are more valued and are more emphasized, and that's okay. But if you get into a very imbalanced, where your crown chakra is wide open and everything below your waist is shut down, that's not good. It's not balanced. You're now like a helium balloon with no string. You just float around everywhere. And so in yoga, the approach is to bring a sense of balance to the body and the energy system. And I really approach yoga from an energetic point of view, not so much a body point of view, but the body is part of our energy field. And when you get into the body, it's amazing what it can teach you, and what the earth energy can teach. And I've been just humbled. In fact, today I was very humbled by an experience where I was really disrespecting, believe it or not, a rock. And the rock sort of, got me back for that. And it was like, what? How's this possible? But anyhow, that's another story for another day. Okay, so
that's for our mornings and Zooms there,
yeah.
Stephen. We do have a couple questions.
Okay.
You want me to just read them for you?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we're going to tie two of these together because they're from the same person. So how much meditation is required to hold chakras, and can we feel a chakra without meditation?
See, I've been meditating for 48 years. Whether you can do this without meditation, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. But there's no holding on the chakra. It's sort of like holding onto a stream. Holding on to a chakra is not really sort of the right metaphor. It's sort of like if the body stream of energy flows, and my experience is the flows chakra to the base of the trunk and then base of the trunk up to the chakra. Now that's more of a qigong approach or feeling, but sometimes when if I do chakra openings to people, but I do it with great caution, and I really feel like I have to have a real established relationship, because otherwise, there's no point you just laying on the floor, just overwhelmed by everything coming up at once. So how much meditation? I would say that my preference is, instead of artificially opening chakras, is for people to take part in this opening of themselves. And that's where I was trained in a formal guru system. So that's where the teacher becomes really important, because when you get stuck, and we all get stuck in our little egos, or we get afraid, then we can't get out of the way. We don't know what to do. We get confused. I had no interest in being a counselor, but when I started teaching meditation, story after story of child abuse started coming out. It's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to deal with this all the time? Where adults had suddenly remembered they had been abused as children. And it happened so many times, I thought, I got to go back to school, because I'm dealing with something that's much bigger than what I had thought. I was teaching a guided meditation, and people are sobbing afterwards. And it's like, that really wasn't supposed to be where we were going. So how much meditation? I think if you allow the chakras to open naturally, the meditation will lead you, but we also tend to be lazy. So I would say, to make really amazing progress, daily meditation for 20 years, but the screens will start going off now.
I would say, as someone a little newer on my path, that any meditation is going to get you closer.
Right.
And sometimes for me, before I could really tap into my chakras, I would know, I didn't realize that I had throat issues for most of my life, because my throat chakra was way out of whack until I started down this path. And I know when I'm not speaking my truth for that. So for the root chakra, Stephen, would you find people have issues with, like, what you were saying?
Huge. Yes, sexuality and survival. I mean, like, what more basic emotions can you have? So when you get into those two chakras, it's really difficult. Power and control, and the navel is also difficult too. So it's easier, I think, if I was opening people's chakras in a natural or meditative way, or even in a Reiki kind of way, I would always start with the heart. The heart is a safe place to start with, because in order to deal with the lower chakras, you have to have a lot of compassion for yourself. And if you don't have compassion, it's going to be like a torture chamber, because, we all carry some darkness.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question over here about how to pay better attention and care for the root chakra so that they can allow it to hold them in return.
I would start out by paying attention to the body. It doesn't have to be just like the heart is the center of emotions. I mean, you can feel emotions in your hands or your fingers or your face. The security, the base survival headquarters is down there. But if you just pay attention to your body, the body has a second mind in the gut. And that root chakra and all the other lower chakras are connected with that second mind. I mean, what if you had to decide on how much acid to put in the food in their stomach so you could digest the food? And, oh, wait a minute, we got to get the bowels working. Oh, wait a minute, the kidneys are enough. Like, that would be exhausting if you had to consciously, operate this as a machine. So we have this second brain that does all this other stuff. But once in a while, it'll give you a strong jolt. I'm sure a lot of you felt it, like in your stomach. If you see, I get it when I see someone get hurt. Like if there's a car accident, or I see someone get hurt on TV or in a movie, there's this jolt I feel in my stomach. And that's that, that energetic area. that gets affected. Sorry, I'm running on.
No, I love it. I love it. Greg, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of new to this whole chakra idea here, and it's interesting. Why I was even interested in being here was I used to listen to like a meditation on a CD that helped me sleep at nighttime. But how do you know that? I mean, I really like the experience of the meditation with where you're feeling inside your body. So is that, Stephen, the way to kind of get in touch with the 7 different root chakras that you're talking about? And how would you know if you were blocked, if you had one that was blocked? I mean,
well, okay. When you dive into meditation, it's sort of like diving into one of these oceans where there's, coral reefs, when we used to have living coral reefs, and clear water. The deeper you go into it, the more you notice, the more you feel, the more you sense. So it's, just even going into the body sensations tends to be almost an infinite kind of journey. There's no end to it. But meditation, when you really get into it, if you do it on a daily basis, let's say 10 minutes a day, forget the 20 years part, 10 minutes a day, and do it tomorrow, and then make the same commitment for the next day. If you can make that commitment, what will happen is your awareness will begin to deepen. You'll begin to notice things more often. When I used to teach meditation on a classroom style, the wives sometimes at the end of the semester would come up to me and say, I don't know what you're doing with my husband, but I hope you continue. Because he's so much nicer now. So there's little changes that happen when you become more aware. And the best way to become aware is to just get out of your head and into just feeling. Now, that feeling can be your emotional body, your energetic body, your physical body, your mental, processing. All of that starts to get into more and more focus. And the more years you put into it, the more sharp that focus becomes. And then you get into the whole thing of, what do you want out of this? And I guess that's a core question. For me, I wanted, I think I started I was raised Baptist, and I started with I want to see God firsthand. I don't want God to be a theory. I want to experience God. Over time, that sort of changed it, but it was the same sentiment. I might use different words, but I wanted to have that firsthand experience, and that what was driving me.
All right. Have you ever had an intuitive sense of seeing someone with a physical ailment where it was a reflection of the chakra imbalance?
Yes. I'll tell you a story. When I started in my training as a mental health counselor, I was brand new. And this very experienced social worker called me up and said, I want you to be my therapist. And I'm like, okay, I'm still an intern. And you have 23 years of experience. And she said, I don't know, there's something about the way you do things that I want to try something new, something different. So I went to see her, and she said, I said, well, what, why do you want me here in the first place? She said, I have a rare form of cancer of the fallopian tubes. I had never heard of it, but that doesn't mean anything. So, I led her in a meditation, and then it was just all pure intuition. I said, invite the tumor in your fallopian tubes to have voice. Let it have a voice. What does it want to say to you? We sat quiet for a few minutes, and she started crying. And she had multiple affairs. Felt very guilty about that. And that energy, that conflicted energy, had morphed into a tumor, in her fallopian tubes. And so it was located where, she felt the most guilt. So I don't know if that answered the question, but
Wow. It's an intense story for sure. All right. How do you let the chakras open naturally?
meditate and keep your awareness. You don't have to meditate. I mean, the ideal way is to meditate for your 10 minutes and try to hold on to that as long as you can, instead of immediately shifting into the old story. The problem I see, and this comes from my counseling experience, is that we carry these old stories around and they're so familiar to us that we don't even realize we're carrying them around. Like we're blind to them. And, when you get into meditation and it deepens, all of a sudden you start seeing these stories rise up. You're trying to sit quiet and this story comes up, the story over and over and over again, like obsessively. And when you're meditating, you're thinking, well, this is very annoying. I'm trying to meditate. And then it's trying to get your attention, So you shift your attention and you're like, what is this about? Is this really that important? And when you get into challenging the thought process, then you start going down this totally new road of understanding yourself and how you function. And there's this, it's not just opening the chakras, it's also opening the unconscious mind. So you're opening the unconscious mind, you're opening the body, you're opening your energy field, you're opening your heart. It's like, oh my goodness. And you start to feel, if you do this too quick, you start to feel overwhelmed. Just like, I can't deal with this. And for people, if you really dive into meditation and you do it really seriously, it just like one thing after another starts opening up. It just naturally happens. You don't have to force it or manipulate it.
All right. What are the benefits of knowing all the different chakras?
Well, this is knowing yourself. So let's take the extreme example. Person has no chakras open, nothing open at all. Well, I mean, what a small life. That means that they're only living in the root chakra. So their whole life is generated around survival, fear, and paranoia. That's a life with no other chakras open, except the minimum to exist. Now that's about the most miserable place you can imagine to be. Imagine, let's say, a lot of people have imbalanced chakras. They might have a wide open heart, but closed in the throat. I find that a lot. And so there's, the heart wants to give expression. The throat is trying to hold the expression back. Maybe it feels uncomfortable to say to your evangelical sister that you are a medium. Just an example. So that throat gets blocked and says like, okay, we're not going to talk about this, are we? No. So what happens is, as your chakras can open and close, and it has its own dynamic pattern, just like your body does. It's the chakras are individual energy centers. It's but the whole energy field in itself needs to be healthy. If you have a healthy heart, that's wonderful. But if the rest of your body is blocked, you're going to feel like you're in love, but in a cave. That's also painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any particular foods or that you should have or shouldn't have to help heal your root chakra?
I can't think of it. I can't think of a food solution. If a root chakra is the problem, then I mean, I would think either a good meditation practice, hatha yoga, being grounded, and also having some kind of therapy, whether you do it with another person or you do it with yourself. Sometime I'd like to do this Native American self-therapy. It's called, I forget the name of it. It's recapitulation. It's a shamanic practice from South America, and you do it all by yourself. You don't need another person. You don't need a therapist. It's very powerful. And sometimes I like to show people how to do that because it's really cool. However, you have to be, it brings some Kleenexes around. It's tough. Basically, what you do in this shamanic practice is you go through every relationship you've ever had. And you cleanse yourself of the imprint of that relationship, and you sort of withdraw your sort of engagement with that relationship. If it's over, if it's still running, you can still sort of soften the imprint. But you go through one relationship after another. You spend as much time as you need going over any incidents, any things that happen. It's this complete it's recapitulation. And they came with that because at the moment of death, a lot of people do these real quick recapitulations. The thing, I was drowning and I saw my life pass before my eyes. Well, at that point, there's not a lot of time left. But if you do it earlier, before you get to that point, you can cleanse your body of these knots. It's sort of like, so for myself, my father was violent. And so he would hit me. Whenever he got angry, he would hit me. And the beatings were pretty severe. So I have this knot about anger. If someone comes at me and they're really aggressive and angry, I go into this like fear mode, automatic. I can't really control it. Now I can sort of do breathing exercises and go for a walk or get away from the person and find a way to self-soothe myself and eventually re-stabilize myself. But I had this automatic fear reaction, and that's a root chakra reaction. How do I deal with it? Well, I mean, I'm a therapist and I've been meditating for 48 years, so I'm not over it. It's still obviously still there. So sometimes these things to resolve take lifetimes.
All right. When you start the journey of recognizing and tending to the chakras, should you start at the root or and then move up when you feel like it's processed, or should you be constantly shifting your focus on all of them?
I would start with opening, letting your heart be open. And I think a lot of people can feel that emotionally. You don't have to, go to a yogi to open your heart. It's just a matter of just removing the blocks. And the other thing is just to be really aware of your body. It's not complicated. Just, you don't have to start, with some highly esoteric thing. Just be aware of your body. And believe it or not, we are not as aware of our body as we really should be. Most of us spend way too much time in our heads. At least that's my experience as a therapist, and not enough time in contact with their body. And sometimes there's a reason for that. When I dealt with people who had been abused as children, sometimes people will shut off the body intentionally because they don't want to feel what's there. And that's why sometimes having a little help through that can help, because if you're pulling up childhood abuse, that's very difficult to deal with by yourself, I think. But for all of us, we have something there, whether it's some disappointment in high school or whatever, but we have these feelings of fear and survival.
Yeah, I wonder if within your practice, if part of why you drew so many people who went through that was because you could resonate with them and you could understand them in a different way. I find that a lot.
I think because I was abused physically by being beaten, I could really understand physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I think Source puts us in places with people sometimes for those specific things.
For sure. Now, meditation, if you really get into meditation, it can get much more involved and much more esoteric. I mean, one of my fields of expertise is healing mantras. So I'm a Reiki healer. I'm a Qigong practitioner. So I do remote healings, remote meditations. And and this is where it really gets fun, I like to combine the whole thing. So when we're meditating together, I ask permission if I can be energetically affecting you. And if not, it's okay. But I think we wind up energetically infecting each other one way or the other. And it's a really nice process, because then things that naturally come up in meditation can be talked about. And if nothing comes up, then we just have a beautiful meditation. And I have one lady I've met with for 12 years, and we meditate, like once every 3 months. And it's kind of cool. But when you really get into a deeper meditation, there's one specific mantra, for example, it's called the Gayatri mantra. And I give that mantra out very reluctantly and carefully, because it brings up so much stuff. It's a mantra I use in opening people's chakras. If you want to open a chakra, use that mantra on your heart, for example, and you'll actually feel almost a physical, visceral experience of opening, and that your first reaction is often feeling really vulnerable, like, ooh, I don't want to feel this vulnerable. But as you get into it deeper and deeper, and the levels increase, and you're no longer digging through the basement all the time, digging up garbage, that shifts into a really beautiful space. So at first it can feel really vulnerable, but then it can feel really wonderful, to just feel joy and happiness for other people, to feel connection with other people. And that's the plus side of the opening the heart chakra, for example. It's such a fun place to start, because it just feels delicious to finally not be afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have quite a few more questions, but I'm going to go ahead and say a few bits here just for those people who are going to have to leave at an hour mark. Stephen said he'll stay a little bit longer, and now we know to stick with that hour and a half. It's the magic time, I'm telling you.
Okay.
Anywho, so I wanted, for those of you who do have to go, you can again reach Stephen by emailing him at go figure, where did it go?
Go figure 2006@gmail.com.
Yes, I wanted to make sure we got that in recording. So you can email him there, and he'll send you that link. Make sure you're checking Awkwardly Zen for all of the different fun activities that we've got coming up. We've got quite a bit this weekend. We have a paradigm shift group tomorrow, and we have our celebration of our app. You can get an app for Awkwardly Zen on either Google or on iPhone, not Google, Android, whatever. They're super techie, you guys. So grab your app, it's free, and you can join our community on awkwardlyzen.com as well. And we're celebrating that tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And we will be doing some giveaways and announcing our next big thing that's coming. So come join us then. We're going to keep answering questions now, but I just wanted to make sure for those of you who have to check out after an hour, that we got you that information. So you ready for the next question, Stephen?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, now I've got to find it. I did scrolling. Now we're in mess.
Let me answer one while you're looking. Does meditation help reduce sleep time? Yes, it does. Actually, when you start meditating well, the need for sleep diminishes quite a bit, and it can sometimes be kind of drastic. The other thing that happens is your sleep schedule starts shifting. There's a magic time around 3 a.m. that I wake up. And when you meditate at 3 a.m., right, whew, wow, is that intense? But it's very cleansing. And so, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Can someone improve their voice quality by focusing on the neck chakra?
Yes. Oh, no, I would not. That's too specific. Because the voice, my voice changed when I started meditating. It made a huge change. But it's the calmness that affects your voice. It's not a mechanical throat, focusing on the throat. The throat is another area you have to be careful about, because there's this vulnerability that starts to open up.
Yeah.
So,
have you ever experienced an energetic pull from the solar plexus chakra?
yes, all the time.
Can you explain a little bit about what an energetic pull would be?
Often it's a negative for some reason. I guess if I see an accident or somebody's hurt, I feel this jolt in my stomach. Sometimes I'll get a queasy feeling if I'm. One time I used to do intakes in a homeless shelter, and had a man come in, very angry, very large, and he wanted a shelter. And man, my stomach was going crazy, like sending me signals that this was a bad situation. Turned out it was.
That instinct definitely shows up in that solar plexus sometimes.
Right.
How can we clear mental and spiritual blocks with chakras or in chakras? They said by chakras.
Yeah, mental and that's like a life. Let's see, 10 lives. Let's go over 10 lives. No, I mean,
could you answer that question in 30 seconds? Thank you, Stephen.
I don't. Yeah, give yourself 10 lives. That's an answer. Yeah, I think it's the journey of being a meditator is a beautiful, beautiful journey, because the older, it's one of those things where the older you get, the better it is. It's one of the few things in our bodies that gets better when we get older. And there's this tremendous wisdom that comes from it, like a patience. And I was a hospice chaplain for 8 years, and it really helped me to survive, setting with 550 people that died. I think if I wasn't a meditator, I couldn't have done it.
And let me just state this, just because there's a lot of different viewpoints on chakras out there. There's a lot of different mentalities on that. There's a lot of different education on it. And so you might have learned a totally different side of things here. It's why we love having different teachers come into Awkwardly Zen, because people's life experiences, obviously Stephen has had some amazing life experiences that have brought a different insight in, and 40 years of meditation. I mean, I hope I can get 40 years of meditation in. I got 2. We're making progress here. So one of the questions is, do we need to have a guru or a teacher to understand the chakras?
It's sort of like saying, can you get from New York to Los Angeles on a backcountry road? Yes, you can get there. It's just going to take a lot longer. So a teacher is really a shortcut, but it takes some gumption, because you have to be willing to listen. And not listen to the teacher, listen to what the teacher is seeing that you're doing, which is a little harder in a way. It's sort of like having a spouse without getting married. It's really difficult. It's weird. I mean, because you wind up having this very close relationship, and you really get to know each other, and it becomes a beautiful friendship. But you in order to do the job of being a meditation teacher, you can't enable the other person. And we're used to being enabled by our friends, and you can't do that.
All right. Do you ever use the LAM mantra? LAM, L-A-M, LAM?
No. I was trained a whole bunch of very classical mantras, but there's a lot of mantras out there.
For sure.
I think I know about 15.
Okay. We maybe have to do a class on mantras.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there could be a correlation between ADHD and the root chakra?
That I don't know, but I think there's a growing awareness of ADHD is also an energetic disturbance, and we don't address that. In modern, I worked in a hospital for 8 years, and they just don't pay enough attention to the energetic body. It's an afterthought. And one of the cool things that happens when you begin to really go into your body more and more, is I've become aware, and I know the location and can feel into the acupuncture openings. I don't have any training in acupuncture, but I know I can find the openings by feeling the openings, which is sort of unusual, I think.
Yeah, I think the more you saying that was interesting, because now I want to go look at all the acupuncture map kind of things to figure it out, because there's definitely almost like pinpricks sometimes of energy.
Yes.
When I'm getting a message or when I'm tapping in.
Right.
Interesting. I like that. All right. So Greg said that currently he's meditating by focusing on breathing, but So he's saying, are you saying that to get in touch with your chakras, that he would need to modify the meditation to focus on the chakra energy?
No,
Okay.
not necessarily. You can, but you see when you get into going beyond the beginning level of meditation and want to aspire to do more or go deeper, it's good to have a meditation that is custom designed for you, because each person is different. So if someone wanted a meditation practice, I'd have to really know the person, have to understand the person, have to energetically sort of feel the person, and then I just rely on intuition. Whatever comes up is what that person needs. And sometimes it's a mantra sound, sometimes it's a particular meditation, sometimes it's something else. But I think it really has to be customized in order to really make a lot of progress.
And is that something that they can reach out to you to ask questions about?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not in this for money. Obviously, I'm retired, and this is an act of love for me, and I want to support Barry's a tremendous Zoom meeting setup, and it's been a huge help to me, and I want to be supportive of the group.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen. However, we all like to feed our practitioners. They deserve to eat. So I'm just saying. Okay, let's see. What else do we have over here? Did that clarify for you, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to contact Stephen again.
Okay.
I'm glad.
Okay. Yeah, I I'm retired, so the only thing on my schedule is lunch.
And
So
you're
write me. I'm fine with having dialogues about things. And if somebody thinks, oh, I really want to meditate, but I don't have any money, don't worry about it.
That's very sweet of you. Thank you. And thank you for your support of Awkwardly Zen. We really appreciate it. So I think we need some clarification here. So at some point you said that you need to be aware of the body, and then something about body shut off. Does that not mean dead?
Some people, we're on an energetic or mental level, because sometimes, and this is my experience in dealing with people who were abused as children, is they will make everything below the waist out of the range of the conscious mind. The body is if you think of the body, and let's say you're only conscious of everything above your neck, that means everything below your neck is now unconscious. Doesn't mean it's dead. It doesn't mean it doesn't. There's the body mechanism that will keep going even if you don't pay any attention to anything that goes below the neck. But what often happens, and this comes back into the healing arena, sometimes when I'm going to get sick, I will notice something happening in my body before the symptom arises. Like I'll feel something off. And the body communicates with us, but we don't listen to it, because if you've been abused, you might think of the body as an enemy. I don't want to feel anything. And that's okay for a while, but it's not a very satisfying way to live. And for the people that I worked with, as their awareness expanded, we went through many boxes of Kleenexes, because they had to deal with things that they're in their past that were difficult to deal with. And it's not a matter that I wanted to deal with it, it's just that they needed to get over it.
All right, we're gonna close off questions for now. So those last couple questions that snuck in there, you're very clever. I love you guys. Have you ever seen Dr. Gabor Mate's new movie, The Wisdom of Trauma? He speaks so much about the same things you're talking about.
Yeah, but I worked in a trauma center, and I mean, most of my life I worked in trauma.
So you were right there with them.
I lived trauma. I was also a COVID. I was a COVID frontline healthcare worker in New York during the worst of the epidemic. So yeah.
So let's pull some extra love at Stephen for doing the things that I certainly don't want to do.
Right.
Thank you for that. Do you use any tools such as malas with certain beads or incense or different things like that to assist in your meditation?
Yes, everything. I experiment with everything that seems reasonable and ethical. But you know, this group has gotten me involved with crystals, and I knew nothing about crystals. And wow, I'm off on an adventure already, and it's just like week 1 of crystal
I
exploring.
love it. Jillian, you're spreading your information there, lady. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just Jillian's excited. So lots of people saying thank you, lots of people saying they're loving listening to your experiences. I think we might need to have just story time with Stephen sometime where he can just talk about all of these amazing experiences that he's had. I am so grateful for your time tonight, for all of you, and especially to Stephen for coming in and sharing his love and his knowledge in that beautiful meditation. Stephen, I hope we get to learn more about other chakras as we go through the next few months.
Right.
So be watching for those experiences. And again, remember, we've got lots of fun stuff coming up. Tomorrow, the Paradigm Shift group, that will be Stephanie and myself running that this time. We've got the celebration, and then I don't remember what's on Sunday, but you all have Meetup and awkwardlyzen.com, so you can go check it out. If it was your first time here tonight, we are so glad that you are here. It is so good to see new faces along with our familiar friends, and please check out more of our events. They're all different. And everyone have a fabulous night, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.